and good to have you with us in this edition of the Urban Debate. Viewers, tonight we begin in what seems to be one of the first, one of its kind of a vaccination scam that has come to light in our country. And which is why this isn't an issue that we are really looking to debate with two sides. But this is an issue that we want to inform you about. This is an issue of which all the aspects must be explored to understand how did this happen and how can we fix it and stop such scams and frauds from taking place. Now, this is a story that's emerged from one of the upscale residential societies in the suburbs of Mumbai, where about 400 residents got a vaccination camp held in their housing society and got vaccinated there. The society was allegedly approached by two people, imposters, claiming and offering to organize a vaccine drive in association with one of the high-profile hospitals in Mumbai, the Kokilaben Hospital. Now, following this inoculation drive, residents were issued fake vaccination certificates. They didn't get any immediate updates from the Covid app or the government, but in a few days, many of them got these vaccination certificates in the name of different hospitals. So we're going to talk about how did this happen? How could it have happened? And what is not confirmed yet, but many of the residents suspect, is that they weren't even given genuine vaccine. Firstly, who were these people? On whose behalf did they come? If it was genuine vaccine, where did they get this vaccine from? And if it wasn't, then what happens next? To put this in perspective and get you all the details, Mayuresh is joining me right now. Mayuresh has been tracking this story through the day. He visited the residential society, spoke to people there. He's also spoken to the government, the civic body, even the police. Mayuresh, first let's begin with how did people suspect that there was something wrong?
Absolutely, when people suspected or started suspecting on that day itself when after this team who had come to give the jabs, they were not having their own system and they were putting entries into the Excel. After that, they said that we usually you get the OTP from the COVID app once your details get registered via the person who's there on the system and had come from the hospital team. But we didn't get any OTP, but we were told that OTP will come after 3-4 days or later that you have to submit. Then when they got the jabs, after 2 days, they started talking with each other. But most of them, almost 400 people were there. So most of them never felt any kind of post-vaccine symptoms, which is usually a mild fever or body ache or any kind of it. None of them felt that. And from that moment, they started suspecting. After almost a week, when they didn't receive any kind of certificate on their COVID app, they started asking the question to the committee, and committee said, soon you will be getting. But they got really shocked when the different hospital certificates, most of them got, because they were told that it has been organized by Kokilaben Hospital. After that, on the day of vaccination, they told that it's a Shivam hospital who's basically going to give you a jab, and it's a local hospital. But when they received the certificates were from the Nanavati, from Kokilaben, even from Shivam, and for that matter, Tanvi, few of them got certificates from the Nesco COVID Center, which is run by the BMC, and that's why they started basically doubting about it, that something is fishy there. Also, right now, they are not sure whether they got the authentic vaccine or not, because all these things, if we see that when the private hospital was involved in it, one private hospital, but when they approached that private hospital, they said that we were not involved in any kind of vaccination. So all this started after a week, we can say that.
All this started after a week when sign after sign emerged, starting from the fact that they found it fishy that these guys came with no computers. And obviously, if there were no computers, they weren't punching it anything right away. So there was no real-time OTP that was coming along. But the biggest, red flag obviously would have been the fact that there was no side effect. Mayuresh, stay with me. I'm going to come back to you because there are many, many aspects to this, and this is going to be a big story for the next half hour. Let's also, speak to two of the residents who are joining me from this place. Hitesh Patel, resident of the Hiranandani Society. His son got vaccinated. And Piyush Dikshit, also a resident who himself got vaccinated at this camp. Piyush, let's start off with you. Can you take us through the process that day? How many people, staff members were present, and who were they claiming to be?
Yeah, hi, good evening. See, this drive was conducted on 30th of May, and 2 days before the drive, we were told that it is Kokilaben Hospital who is going to come. And on the day of vaccination, we get to know that it's not Kokilaben, it is some Shivam Hospital. Okay. Fine, that was okay with us because the vaccine was still the same. It was Covishield, which was to be given, and that's why it was not a problem. From the vaccination agency side, there were 3 people who were present that day. And the process which was followed was like, it was conducted in our clubhouse. So you just go to the clubhouse. There are our club people, our own people who were sitting there and who were taking all the details, Aadhaar number and all those kind of things. And they were just noting it down in the Excel or the files which they were putting it there. And once they have collected all the data, we were asked to go to the room wherein the vaccination was happening. We went there directly. We were given the vaccine. We were not allowed to click any photographs, which was slightly surprising because usually when people get jabbed, they take selfies, and there are selfie booths and also there was no such thing. In fact, we were asked not to click pictures. So, yeah, so that was the entire setup of that day. And that's a process which we follow.
So obviously nobody pre-registered as well. It was supposed to be one of those walk-in camps where they claim they will make register for you.
In fact, no. The pre-registration was done, and the payment was paid in advance. We paid 1,260 rupees, which was given to them in advance. Though we didn't get any receipt for that. And at the time of making the payment, we had also shared our photocopy of Aadhaar card.
So no pre-registration that was asked by you on the Covin portal, right? So there was no Covin portal.
No,
this was directly with those guys who approached you.
Right. No such pre-registration was done on Covin portal. It was considering it was arranged in the society domain, so all these details were shared. The people who are organizing it.
Yes, fair enough. I think in a lot of camps, that's what is happening. You upfront share the details so you know how many people are going to be lining up for vaccination, how many doses would you need. So clearly whoever was behind this scam was well aware of the usual system being followed and then, kind of try to follow the same system. Piyush Dikshit, when did, the alarm bells go ringing first for you that what has happened is perhaps perhaps you've not been given the right vaccine. Did you get a certificate from one of the hospitals as well?
Yeah, I got the certificate. As I said, 30th May is when we got vaccinated. Alarm bells, I won't say alarm bell, but on that day itself, so both me and my wife had taken the vaccine. And on that day itself, we were actually happy because we were not showing any symptoms, because usually people show some symptoms. Okay. After 2-3 days, we realized that there are more such people who have not displayed any such symptoms. Then the first level of alarm bell triggered. Then I think after 4-5 days, when we started, we had not received our certificates till then. And then we started questioning them, where are the certificates? And then I think there were serious alarm bells, which started triggering, okay? And I think on the day, so I think between 10th to 12th June, so which is after 10 to 12 days of vaccination, some people start receiving the certificates. I tell you, I'm again repeating, some people. So till date, not everyone has received the certificates, okay? Now, when we looked at these certificates, these were from 3 different hospitals. And obviously, then we realized that there is something which is going extremely wrong. And when we contacted some of these hospitals, they said that we have nothing to do with it.
Right.
In fact, we will be approaching police, and this is what you also need to do. Right. So then I think things were clear that something has gone wrong here.
You know, for a lot of people, like you rightly said, and let me take this to Mr. Hitesh Patel. Mr. Patel, for a lot of people, you know, one big concern emerges when they don't get side effects or, you know, serious enough side effects as people around them may be getting. Was that the alarm for your family as well? Your son got vaccinated, but did he show any side effects?
हमारे साथ यही हुआ था कि भाई हमें नेक्स्ट डे किसी को भी साइड इफेक्ट नहीं हुई, वो सबसे पहला हमारे लिए अलार्म था। और वहीं से हमें लगने लगा कि कुछ तो डाउट है। और हमें उस दिन वैक्सीनेशन पॉइंट पे कोई सेल्फी नहीं था कि जहां पे हम एक पिक्चर्स भी ले सके, और हमने वहां पे उनकी पिक्चर लेने के लिए कोशिश की, तो उन्होंने हमको बोल दिया कि आप यहाँ पे पिक्चर्स नहीं ले सकते हो। समवेयर लाइक कि हम लोग बीएमसी के ऑफिसर है, हम छुट्टी लेके आए हैं तो हमारा नौकरी चला जाएगा, तो आप पिक्चर मत लीजिए। तो ये सब हमारे लिए एक लैप्स था जो हमारे ध्यान में 2 दिन के बाद आया।
उन्होंने किस टाइप के, जैसे आपने ये बताया, बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है कि इस तरीके का एक्सक्यूज दिया कि हम बीएमसी वाले हैं लेकिन छुट्टी लेके आए हैं इसलिए आप फोटो मत लीजिए, इस तरीके के और क्या क्या ऐसे एक्सक्यूज दिए कि भाई कंप्यूटर भी अपना नहीं लेके आए, रजिस्ट्रेशन ओटीपी भी नहीं आ रहा है, इसका क्या एक्सक्यूज था उनके पास?
यस, उन्होंने सबसे पहले क्या किया कि हमारा जो कोविन में कोई पंजीकरण नहीं किया, उन्होंने कोई भी एप्लीकेशन, हमारा जो एप्लीकेशन उसमें आधार कार्ड के थ्रू कोविन में करना पड़ता है, उन्होंने वो नहीं किया। सेकंड, उन्होंने हमारी पूरी डिटेल्स उन्होंने एक्सेल शीट पे बनाई, तो थोड़ा सा हमको वहीं पे थोड़ा डाउट था, लेकिन ऐसा था कि सोसाइटी मैनेजमेंट ने ये किया है तो कुछ तो प्रॉपर होगा। तो वो हिसाब से गुड फेथ में 390 लोगों ने एक साथ में वैक्सीनेशन ले लिया। बट दूसरे दिन सबको सिम्टम्स नहीं आए, तो 3-4 दिन तक हम लोग हमारे सर्टिफिकेट के लिए पूछ रहे, तो कोई हमको जवाब नहीं दे रहा है। और 10-12 दिन के बाद काफी हल्ला करने के बाद हमें सर्टिफिकेट आना शुरू हुआ, वो भी डिफरेंट हॉस्पिटल से। और सबसे बड़ा सस्पेक्ट हुआ हम जब नेस्को का सर्टिफिकेट आया, बिकॉज नेस्को इज द गवर्नमेंट बॉडी, और वहां से तो वो तो फ्री मिल रहा है, तो ये कैसे उसने हमको सर्टिफिकेट दिया, जबकि नेस्को तो आया नहीं था हमारे पास। तो किसी का अलग अलग तारीख में अलग अलग लोगों को, अलग अलग डेट्स में अलग अलग लोगों को ये सर्टिफिकेट आ रहे थे। वही, और हमने जब नानावटी का हमारे पास सर्टिफिकेट आया, तो हमने नानावटी के लोगों को कांटेक्ट किया, तो उन्होंने हमको क्लियरली बता दिया कि भाई हमने आपके यहाँ पे कोई वैक्सीनेशन ड्राइव किया नहीं है, और ये जो वैक्सीनेशन सर्टिफिकेट्स है वो हमारे यहाँ से मैनेज हुए हैं, जो हमारे नॉलेज के बाहर है। सो आपको भी चीट किया गया है और हमें भी चीट किया गया है। आप जाके भी पुलिस कंप्लेंट कर सकते हो, हम भी पुलिस कंप्लेंट करेंगे इस बारे में। तब जाके ये काफी बातें उजागर हुई, और मेन कंसर्न हमारा ये है कि हमें क्या मिला है, क्या नहीं मिला है। सर्टिफिकेट मिला है तो क्या स्टेटस है, सर्टिफिकेट नहीं मिला है तो हमारा क्या स्टेटस है,
और वैक्सीन मिली है कि नहीं मिली है। सबसे पहली बात तो ये कि ये क्या, और अगर फेक वैक्सीन थी, पानी था, ग्लूकोज था, क्या था, तो वो कैसे उनके पास ये वायल्स आए, किस तरीके से ये प्लान हुआ। टू मेनी क्वेश्चंस, आई रिक्वेस्ट बोथ ऑफ यू टू स्टे विद मी। आई वांट टू गो बैक टू Mayuresh. Mayuresh, in the morning, you know, when we first found out about this story, we made a list of things that we would want to know, you know, various aspects and so many questions. Now, to how many of those questions have we managed to find answers to?
As of now, not a single one, because we did try to ask the similar questions to the state government authority or BMC, even for that matter, police also. But all of them are saying that the investigation is on. Let us do the investigation. We'll answer your question, because these are the important questions. First question was that why did the society didn't do any kind of due diligence of these people who directly approached them? Another question, important question, is that from where if these people are not from these authentic hospitals, whether it was Shivam Hospital, Kokilaben, or for that matter, any other hospital, from where they got these vaccine vials? Because if you remember that they have shown the photograph also, the society resident only showed us the photograph. On that vial, it is clearly written not for sale. So that is the another question. And most important question is that, Tanvi, what is next? Because these people who have got the jab, 400 people have got the jab almost, they are not sure whether they have got a authentic vaccine, whether they have got water or whether they have got glucose. And what about the second jab? Whether they are allowed to take a second jab, though their COVID registration now must be showing that they have received the first jab. But on what basis they should go ahead and take a second jab. So that is the question which needs to be answered. But as of now, we have got the response, the typical response from government, whether it's a BMC or the state government, that the investigation has been initiated. BMC has given a 48 hours to their officials to submit the report to the Suresh Kakani, who is a BMC officer, who is a BMC commissioner to be precise. And parallelly, we have been given to understand that the Mumbai police is basically calling all these hospitals whose names are there and certificates have been issued. They are basically doing the preliminary inquiry. Also, we have been told the committee members, the few committee members may also get a call from police about this entire mess.
Yes. Okay, so in investigation by the Mumbai police, an inquiry that's now been set up by the civic body, the state government also looking at it, hospitals extremely concerned, and 400 residents and their families extremely concerned. Mayuresh will keep us on top of this story. Thanks so much, Mayuresh, for joining us right now. I'll also say good evening to Sheetal Matre of the Shiv Sena and Dr. Rahul Pandit, Director for Critical Care at Fortis Hospital in Mumbai. Dr. Rahul Pandit, two key questions. One is now, what will we need to do to find out if they indeed did get any vaccine or none at all? And two, how is this kind of a breach really possible? I mean, they seem to be getting certificates. The COVID portal is showing that they've gotten one shot now, which they may not have.
Good evening, Tanvi, and thank you very much for having me on the show. Look, I think I'm actually amazed at the way the scam has happened, because if you look at the way the vaccination thing is tied up right now, in fact, we actually feel that the rural people may not be able to cope up with the amount of complexity which it has. And there have been talks about should we make it any simpler. And despite it being so tightly knitted right now, we've got a scam which has come out. So it's very difficult to say how they managed to do it. As far as the question comes to whether the residents actually got a vaccine or not, that's going to be a difficult question for those people who have had COVID and then they have taken a vaccine, because one of the ways to do that would be to actually do their antibodies and see if they've actually mounted any antibody response or not. For people who've had a COVID before, it would be extremely difficult to understand whether it's a vaccine-related antibody response or the previous COVID-related antibody response. Secondly, there would be a group of individuals who probably may have had an asymptomatic infection and they may not be completely aware that they had COVID, and their response may show. And then obviously there would be some who were completely free of infection and then got the vaccine. And if they don't mount a response, then definitely there was no vaccine in there. But that's going to be a very complex way to actually understand whether these people should be vaccinated again or not. I would say that the investigation should be allowed to be completed. Let the authorities come to some form of understanding. If at all they're able to actually go to the bottom of the problem and find out, we would probably know whether the vaccines were genuine or not. I think that's the most important thing, and then that should give us the answer. But on a scientific way, these are the three possibilities which would have to be ruled out, and it's not going to be a very easy one to rule out whether a person received a vaccine indeed or not.
Okay, Sheetal Matre, this is going to be very important, and not just for the citizens or the government to catch these imposters, but to fix the system. How did this even take place? Technically, the BMC and each of the ward offices are supposed to know where all these vaccination camps are taking place. In this case, they did not know because nobody informed them.
Absolutely. देखिए कैसा है कि इसका मैं आपको सिस्टम समझाती हूँ. अगर किसी को कैंप लेना है तो उनको क्या करना चाहिए? उनको पहले वो सोसाइटी को लेटर देना है वो हॉस्पिटल में जहाँ से ये वैक्सीन आने वाला है और जो ऑर्गेनाइज करने वाले. बाद में वो हॉस्पिटल को लेटर देना है बीएमसी को, यानी वहाँ के जो वार्ड ऑफिस रहेगा, उधर के हेल्थ ऑफिसर को उनको लेटर देना है, उनके पास से एनओसी लेना है और उसके बाद ही वो कैंप ऑर्गेनाइज कर सकते हैं. लेकिन मुझे लगता नहीं है कि इस मामले में ऐसा कुछ हुआ है, क्योंकि अगर ऑर्गेनाइजर है, पहले तो ऑर्गेनाइजर कौन है वो मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. सोसाइटी ऑर्गेनाइज कर रही थी क्या? तो सोसाइटी ने अगर ऑर्गेनाइज किया है तो सोसाइटी ने देखा नहीं क्या कि कौन से अस्पताल से हमको लेना चाहिए. देखिए, मैंने भी संडे को मेरे वार्ड में प्राइवेट 18 to 44 के एज के लोगों के लिए वैक्सीनेशन ऑर्गेनाइज किया था बाय द प्राइवेट हॉस्पिटल. लेकिन उसके लिए ये सब पूरी सिस्टम हमने फॉलो की और रजिस्टर्ड होने के बाद 5 मिनट के अंदर उनको सर्टिफिकेट आ गया था. तो ये देखना भी जरूरी है कि भाई सर्टिफिकेट आ रहा है कि नहीं रजिस्ट्रेशन के बाद. अगर वो नहीं आ रहा है तो उधर ही उनको वैक्सीनेशन रोक देनी चाहिए थी. उन्होंने आगे क्यों किया? क्योंकि इधर मुझे बहुत सारी चीजें बहुत फिशी लग रही है, बहुत लूज लग रही है, कुछ बीच में कड़ियां जो है वो मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रही है कि ऑर्गेनाइज किसने किया था, ऑर्गेनाइजर ने किससे बात करके बीएमसी को उन्होंने समझाया था क्या? तो यहाँ पे मुझे ऑर्गेनाइजर के कोई भी लोग नहीं दिख रहे कि जो बोले। बीएमसी उसके ऊपर जरूर कार्रवाई कर रही है। हम पुलिस से भी कांटेक्ट में हैं और हम देखेंगे कि आगे क्या हो सकता है।
और ये जो आपने हमें स्टेप बताया ना शीतल मात्रे, ये जो आपने हमें प्रोसेस बताया, जो हमने भी इस स्टोरी आने के बाद हम लोग ने भी चेक किया कि क्या प्रोसेस है, कि वो जो रेजिडेंशियल सोसाइटी के आरडब्ल्यूए है या हाउसिंग सोसाइटी इंचार्ज है, उनको क्या करना चाहिए था, तभी ये डिटेल्स बाहर आई। ये एक बहुत बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है कि शायद लोगों को ये पता भी नहीं है। अगर वो हॉस्पिटल को फ़ोन कर रहे हैं या कोई उनको अप्रोच कर रहा है और वो कैंप ऑर्गेनाइज कर रहे हैं कि उनको बीएमसी का एनओसी चाहिए, इसके लिए कैंपेन अवेयरनेस करना पड़ेगा।
नहीं, हेलो, अस्पताल को पता है, अस्पतालों को हमने बताया है, बीएमसी ने बाकायदा लेटर दिया है सभी अस्पतालों को, जो जो वैक्सीन अवेलेबल कर सकते हैं, ऐसे अस्पतालों की हमारे पास लिस्ट है, उनको बाकायदा हमने लेटर दिया है और उनको बताया है कि आपको एनओसी लेनी है, आपको तारीख बतानी है, कितने जॉब सब करने वाले वो बताने हैं, कौन से सोसाइटी में करने वाले ये बताना, ये सब सोसाइटी अस्पतालों को पता है।
Okay, let me actually, जो आपने एक point उठाया वो बहुत important है, and let me see if I can go back to our residents who can give us answers, क्योंकि surely, Piyush, surely you would have by now spoken to those in your society who are directly dealing with these guys, who are organizing this. What did they have to say? Your society members, the RWA, what did they have to say? Were there any background checks done?
If we take a step back, we need to understand that the intention was good, because obviously there are some organizing members who themselves have taken the jab, and their family members who were also part of that set who has taken the vaccine. So the intentions were definitely good. I'm not so sure about their awareness levels of the protocols and all those kind of things, possibly. And considering I'm not one of those organizing members, okay, so I right now don't have much details about what protocols and all those things were followed. But yeah, they, considering I think the investigation authorities are checking out all these kind of things, okay, the police and administration and all those kind of things, they're just looking into the matter. So I think we will get to know what all was followed, but I don't think that is a problem. See, we need to understand their intention was good, because they themselves, some of them had also taken the jab.
Sure.
It's not about following the protocols and all those kind of things. The lapses are somewhere else, because somehow these vaccines were, I don't know, whatever it was. So whatever was there in those bottles with the name Covishield. So those were, if that was a vaccine, so that was procured by bypassing some systems. Okay, otherwise, how can you procure them? The certificates which were generated, they were also generated by compromise. Certain systems would have got compromised. Okay, we are getting certificates from renowned hospitals like Nanavat and Nesco Center, and obviously these are all Covin generated certificates. So the Covin, I think, is also somewhere compromised. So I think there are some bigger lapses which are happening. It's not about following those standard operating procedures at the society level. The problem is somewhere else which needs to be addressed, because currently this society, it can be, we don't know, like right now also there can be.
Let me make it clear that I don't think anybody from the society can be blamed unless they willingly, knowingly colluded with these guys to make money, which they wouldn't. I mean, at the end of the day, they continue to live in that society, so why would they, right? So it's not about...
They themselves are taking the jab. So
and they're also taking the jab. So obviously they're not colluding, but the point that we should make is that there is a process. What Sheetal Matre just elaborated, there is a process that more and more people should know. So at least this doesn't happen to others, because you are aware. Even if somebody tries to scam you, you are aware of what the system is, that you need to go to the local ward office, you need to get an NOC, you need to inform them of this drive. That being said, Dr. Rahul Pandit, I come back to you on the certification aspect. These certificates that are being issued in the name of hospitals, are they generated from Covin, or are individually hospitals doing it? Because then it would just be easy to somehow Photoshop and generate a certificate. But if it is to be with an inbuilt system, then how did that happen?
No, it's an inbuilt system.
Yeah.
It is not generated by the hospitals at all. And what happens is that, as the process was nicely explained by Shrimati Matriji, what happens is that if you have to actually go and get your society vaccinated as a drive, you approach the hospital, you approach the BMC, you get the permission. The BMC actually issues a special, I don't know what exactly it is called, but it actually receives a special name for that, for which window generates into the CoWIN app where they can actually register these people. When they register these people, they get a due OTP assigned to them. They have their verification done based on the photo ID which is being used for their registration. The hospital carries the whole laptop and everything, and it's all done on the CoWIN app. It is not done on any Excel sheet or any other application which can be a hospital-based application. It has to be done on a CoWIN app. Then you put in the batch number, the person who actually register, who is going to vaccinate the person, that is sort of generated, and the vaccination is given. Sorry, the vaccination is given, and these things are generated, and the patient, the person gets the certificate 5 minutes, or even less than 5 minutes, into their app, their CoWIN app, and they put that certificate. It's a certificate by CoWIN, not by app.
Yes, so that's another important part, Chetan Matre, that the civic body and even the government will have to take up with the centralized system and the CoWIN system to see how were the fake certificates generated. It's not just about possibly a fake vaccine being given and somebody going and pretending to be from one hospital or second hospital. 4 hospitals, certificates from 4 different hospitals were generated and sent to people over a period of 10 days. That is very, very concerning.
देखिए कैसा है, आप बोल रही है वो सही है कि इंटेंशन किसी का गलत नहीं है, लेकिन हमको प्रॉपर जो उसका जो तरीका है वो हमको अपनाना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि बीएमसी के पास लिस्ट रहती है कि कौन से अस्पताल के पास वैक्सीन है। अगर आपने ये काम करने से पहले बीएमसी को बताया होता या बीएमसी से बात की होती तो मुझे लगता नहीं था कि ये मिस हुआ होता, क्योंकि बीएमसी उनको एनओसी देती है, तभी हम सब देखते हैं कि भाई उनके पास वैक्सीन कहाँ से आए हैं, कितने वैक्सीन है। जैसे अभी सर ने बताया कि बीएमसी के पास पता रहता है, सभी चीजें पता रहती है कि कोविन ऐप में उसके लिए अलग विंडो दिया जाता है। तो मुझे लगता है इंटेंशन किसी का गलत नहीं है, लेकिन ऐसे आगे ना हो, इसलिए मैं लोगों से आपके माध्यम से कहना चाहूंगी कि प्लीज आपकी बीएमसी से पहले बात कीजिए, भाई हमको ऐसे ऐसे कैंप करना है, तो कौन से अस्पताल के पास जाएंगे और उनके पास से एनओसी लेंगे। तो मुझे लगता नहीं कि इतना सब मुश्किलें होगी, लेकिन फिर भी ये होना बहुत ही बुरी बात है, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए।
तो मैं आपसे ये आपने सही कहा, ठीक है, लेकिन मैं आपसे ये पूछ रही हूँ, इसका एक दूसरा एस्पेक्ट है, किसी ने सिस्टम हैक करके या कैसे भी मैनेज करके किसी के साथ कल्यूड करके सर्टिफिकेट्स जनरेट किए हैं और अलग अलग अस्पतालों के नाम पे वो सर्टिफिकेट जनरेट हो रहे हैं और लोगों को जा रहे हैं। अगर इन्होंने आपस में बात नहीं की होती है, ये नहीं एक आध वार्निंग साइंस देखे होते तो शायद पता भी नहीं चलता कि ऐसा कुछ हुआ है। तो वो उस प्रॉब्लम को तो फिक्स करना सरकार की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है।
जी बिल्कुल, कोविन ऐप जो है वो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से चलता है, हम उनको खाली उनके हिसाब से हम इधर उसके लिए विंडोज ओपन करते हैं, लेकिन कोविन ऐप इज फ्रॉम सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, वो चलाती है। तो हम जरूर सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट से इसके बारे में बात करेंगे, किधर क्या गैप्स है या किधर ये ऐसी चीजें हो सकती है, ये अगर हमको समझ में आए तो जरूर हम वो वाटर टाइट करने की जरूर कोशिश करेंगे।
Okay, well, I hope so. आपकी assurance हम ले रहे हैं, and this has to be informed to the central government as soon as possible. The state needs to get into it. The civic body needs to get into it. Piyush, just one final question before I let everybody go. Obviously, like you said, at the vaccination camp, individual pictures are not being allowed to be taken. But is there any visual evidence from your CCTVs or any other recordings in terms of helping to track these people down? That has been now shared with the police.
Yeah, I'm sure, considering it's a slightly upscale society, so there are CCTVs which are placed at different places and all, and we have a proper entry system at the gate and all. So I'm sure we would be having all such details, and the society would have given all these details to the investigating authorities. So I don't think there is any situation where we don't have any such details.
Well, let's hope they're able to catch these fraudsters soon, and you also get answers to your questions about what exactly did you get in that injection shot. Thank you to all of the panelists for joining us on the on this conversation. These are, by the way, shots of that day, which one of the video journalist Stringers sent from that day to us. So somebody obviously also tried to spread the word in terms of publicity that look, we are holding a vaccine camp here, but beyond a certain point, there are no cleaner pictures of individuals. But there are these visuals because a journalist was called that day to come and shoot. So the police needs to look into this, identify these people who are giving the shots, and track them down as soon as possible. This is a very, very concerning fraud that has emerged. And we need to plug the gaps right away. We need to find out where all these lapses took place. How is it that somebody genuinely got vaccines or got these fake vials? How is it that they managed to generate certificates? How is it that if somebody comes to you and says that, well, our computer isn't working, so the OTP will come to you later, but for now, let's just pull it in. How is it that people actually did get messages later, did get certificates later? What's going on in the name of the biggest of the hospitals, of the government as well, and the COVID portal? This is not just some local society scam that has unfolded. It's big and it's dangerous. And the only thing that you can do to make yourself aware and to protect yourself from these scams is that know the rules properly of who do you need to go and speak to, who do you need to inform, how do you go about doing background checks on who these people are, who are they claiming to be, what is the exact process. Be very, very careful of what's going on. We also spoke to the Mumbai Guardian Minister, Aslam Sheikh, about this massive fraud. Listen in.
You must be aware that what exactly happened at Hiranandani Heritage and Kandivali West, where they arranged this vaccination camp. And after a few days, they got to know that the hospital which already they had tied up with, that was not the hospital. And they were started receiving the certificates from many different hospitals, the vaccination certificates. How do you see this particular incidents? Because a lot of societies are basically taking this initiative and going ahead and doing this vaccination camps.
Initially, I had told long time back that the program of central government about implementation of vaccination or the RT-PCR is not going the right way. So the same thing is happening now. Today we got the complaint regarding this incident which took place, where this Hiranandani society people had complained about it, and it's a serious concern now, because I asked my administrative officer, he said they don't know anything about it, because they were supposed to first inform the local ward office, take the permission from there, and now one hospital is saying if we were not over there, some other hospital was involved over there, they have done the vaccination. So I have instructed the municipal commissioner to do an investigation and get me the report within 12 days.